It's 11:47 p.m., and your thumb is hovering over your banking app. This morning you told yourself you'd transfer $200 into your investment account today. You haven't, you're tired, it's been a long day, and some quiet voice in your head says, "Tomorrow, I'll feel more like it tomorrow." Now picture the guy from your office who somehow has $50,000 invested by 32, or that stranger on your feed talking about passive income from a beach somewhere, looking impossibly put together. You assume he's just built different, more willpower, more drive than you'll ever have. Here's the uncomfortable part. He's not. My name is Nico, and today we're going to take apart one of the most damaging myths in personal finance. The idea that financially successful people simply have more motivation than you do. They don't. What they actually have is something far less glamorous and far more powerful. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you've ever beaten yourself up for skipping a month of saving, for letting a budget fall apart by week 2, for feeling like everyone else got handed some discipline gene you missed out on, stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why motivation was never the variable that actually mattered. And if breakdowns like this are useful to you, consider subscribing. It helps this channel keep going. Let's start with what we actually know about motivation, because the research is almost embarrassing. Something like 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by the second week of February, and that includes the financial ones. I'm going to save more this year, right alongside the gym ones. Millions of people sign up for gym memberships every January, fully convinced this is the year. And by spring, most of those memberships are paid for and completely untouched. Surveys from groups like Bankrate and NerdWallet find the same pattern with money. Most people who say they plan to save more aren't actually saving any differently 6 months later. But here's the data point that should make you sit up straight. When companies switched their 401k programs from something employees had to opt into to something employees were automatically enrolled in unless they actively opted out, participation didn't creep up. It exploded, jumping from somewhere around half of eligible employees to north of 90%, almost overnight. Same humans, same paychecks, same willpower, exactly. The only thing that changed was whether motivation was required at all. Let me show you what this looks like in two patterns I see constantly. Troy and Marcus both make around $70,000 a year. Both genuinely want to invest $400 a month, and both would tell you if you asked that they're working on their finances. Troy does it the way most people do. He waits until the end of the month, looks at what's left after rent, after the dinner out, after the impulse buy on payday, and then decides whether he feels like moving money into his brokerage account. Some months he does, most months something always comes up, and he tells himself he'll catch up next month. Across a year, Troy actually manages to invest in about 5 of those 12 months. Marcus does something almost boring by comparison. The day his paycheck lands, $400 moves automatically into his investment account before he ever sees the number sitting in his checking balance. He never decides to invest. He decided once, back when he set it up, and the decision is just gone now. And it's not because Troy is lazy or undisciplined as a person, it's because he built a system that required him to win a willpower battle 12 separate times a year, every year, forever, while Marcus only had to win it once. Let me show you the math on just 10 years of this. Marcus investing his full $400 a month consistently at a historically reasonable 8% average return ends up with around $73,000. Troy, investing inconsistently at an effective average closer to $150 a month, ends up with around $27,000. Same income, same goal, same intentions on day one. A $46,000 gap in just a decade, and that's the crazy part. It has nothing to do with how much either one of them actually earned. Here's where it gets really interesting and a little uncomfortable, because an entire economy is quietly built on you losing that willpower battle. Gyms famously oversell memberships precisely because they know most people won't keep showing up. That's not a flaw in the business model. That is the business model. The same logic runs through subscription boxes, diet programs, and plenty of finance apps with optional contribution buttons sitting there, unused, every month. Notice something else while we're at it. The apps that want your money make spending almost frictionless. One-click checkout, saved cards, buy now, pay later right at the register, while the tools meant to help you save usually require you to open them, think about it, and manually decide every single time. That's not an accident. Friction gets removed for the behavior that profits someone else, and friction gets left in place for the behavior that would actually benefit you. Researchers who study decision-making call your daily mental capacity decision fatigue. Every choice you make, what to wear, what to eat, whether to answer one more email, draws from the same limited tank, and by the time you're staring at your banking app at night, that tank is often close to empty. That's not a character flaw, that's just being a person on a Tuesday. People who build real wealth, often without ever naming it this way, stop trying to win that daily battle and instead change the question completely. From will I feel motivated to do this today, to what does the system do by default when I feel nothing at all? Rich people aren't winning more daily battles than you. They've simply designed a life with fewer battles left to fight. Now some of you are thinking, but Nico, successful people obviously work harder, they have more drive. That's just true. And you're not wrong. Building a career, starting a business, pushing for a higher income, that takes real effort and real motivation, especially early on. Ambition matters. What I'm telling you is that ambition is not what makes someone consistently invest money for 30 straight years. Automation is. You can be the most driven person in your friend group and still have a nearly empty brokerage account, because the mechanical act of moving money requires zero ambition and a small ongoing willpower tax you were never built to pay every month for 3 decades straight. Some of you are also thinking, I don't make enough to automate $400 a month. Fair. This was never about the number. The exact same principle works at $40 a month. The math just scales down, while the behavioral gap stays exactly the same, because the gap was never about the dollar amount. It was always about whether the decision had to be remade. And if you're worried about flexibility, about emergencies, that's what a small buffer fund sitting outside the automation is for. The default stays on. You only touch it on purpose. So let's zoom all the way out, because here's the part that will blow your mind. Say Troy and Marcus both start at 25, and we run their exact same patterns for a full 30-year career, all the way to 55. Marcus, automatic, consistent, $400 a month, no raises factored in, no extra contributions, just plain consistency at that same 8% average return, ends up with roughly $596,000. Troy, relying on motivation the entire time, effectively averaging around $150 a month because some months he skips and life happens, ends up with around $224,000. The math is brutal. That's a gap of nearly $373,000 between two people who started with the same income, the same goal, and arguably the same ambition on day one. That gap isn't a vacation, it isn't a nicer car. For one of them, it's the difference between retiring on your own terms and working 5, maybe 10 years longer than he wanted to. The only real difference between them is that one man removed motivation from the equation entirely and the other one needed it, fresh, 360 separate times, and only actually showed up for about half of them. So here's what I actually want you to take from this. You don't need to become a more disciplined person. You don't need to wake up tomorrow with some new reserve of willpower you've never had before. You need exactly one decision made today that your future self never has to remake. Set the automatic transfer on the day your paycheck lands before you ever see the number sitting there tempting you. Start small if you have to, but start it as a default, not a daily choice you reopen every payday. The people you look at and assume they must just want it more than I do, they're not winning more battles than you. Most of them simply stopped fighting the same battle every single month and fought it once, on purpose, a long time ago. The difference between staying stuck and building real wealth was never about who had more motivation. It was always about who needed it the least. If this gave you a different way to look at your own money habits, hit subscribe. It really does help this channel keep making videos like this every week. Drop a comment with the one thing you could automate this week. I read every one. And as always, this is for educational purposes only, not personalized financial advice, so make the choices that actually make sense for your specific situation. I'll see you in the next one.